Hello guys, this is What About Nintendo, and today I'm here to talk about my new predictions for the Nintendo Switch Pro in light of the recently announced Nintendo Switch Lite. So let's get right on into things. So if you guys don't know, Nintendo did just announce, as of this time recording today, probably yesterday for you guys by the time this is uploaded, that they are releasing a new Nintendo Switch Lite on September 20th, 2019, and they did not announce anything of the Switch Pro like many of us thought, and this changes a lot of things that I thought and predicted about the Nintendo Switch Pro, so I wanted to give my new updates. But if you want to hear my thoughts on the actual Switch Lite, go click that I because I made a video on that yesterday about all my thoughts on the system. But let's get right on into this one. Obviously, guys, we now know that the Nintendo Switch Pro is not coming out this year as I predicted. Nintendo did confirm that this year the only new hardware that will be coming out is the Nintendo Switch Lite, so there is no hope of a Pro coming out this holiday. And even though the Switch Lite is releasing in September, like I predicted, my prediction about the Switch Pro releasing in holiday around November is wrong, and therefore I need to get new predictions with this new information, so that's what I'll be doing right now. Let's get on into that. Let's start with my updated reveal and release predictions for this system. With the Switch Lite, Nintendo has stuck to tradition of announcing smaller revisions like the 2DS, the Nintendo Switch Lite, the new 2DS XL, and so on in trailers and not directs. So I am sticking with my prediction that they will stick with tradition of revealing higher end products in directs, things like the Nintendo 3DS XL and the new 3DS and new 3DS XL. So therefore I am going to predict that the Nintendo Switch Pro will also be revealed in a direct. But when will this direct take place? Well, I am going to say early 2020. Well, it is very possible that a direct could happen later this year, and they could announce the Switch Pro in that direct. I don't think they're going to want to overshadow their announcement and release of the Nintendo Switch Lite with a Switch Pro announcement if it's coming out next year. Therefore, I think they will wait till early next year in order to announce the system, especially since the announcement between the Switch Lite and the actual release of it is only going to be 2 months. So I think it will be a similar situation here with the January Direct announcing the system. So when am I thinking this is actually going to release? Well, I pretty much just told you guys when it was going to release, 2 months after in March. This is something I predicted as a possibility in my previous trying to predict the Nintendo Switch Mini at the time, and now we know it's the Lite, and the Switch Pro's reveal and release. While I did get the Switch Lite correct, I did say that it was possible that the Pro could come out in 2020, and I am now going to buckle down on that theory. Another theory that was common in the comments of that video was that it would launch alongside Animal Crossing on the 20th of March, and I'm going to say that that will be the case. Not only, however, does this coincide with the release date of Animal Crossing, a very big game for Nintendo that will likely sell over 10 million copies, but it also coincides with the 3rd year anniversary of the system. Another possibility I'm thinking of is launching on March 3rd for the base system and having a Animal Crossing Edition Pro launch on the 20th, kind of like how we're getting the base Lite systems, and then 2 months later in November, alongside the launch of Pokemon, we're getting the Pokemon Edition Lite. That's kind of what I'm thinking could happen, but we could also just get one unit that launches on the 20th. Some people are, however, saying that we could see the launch in holiday 2020 alongside the PS5 and Xbox Scarlet. However, I think this is a terrible idea. While I don't think launching next to those systems will necessarily make the Switch Pro sell badly, I don't think it's what's best for the system. Essentially, you're pitting a revision of an existing console against 2 brand new next generation systems. Not only that, you're pitting it up against systems that are much more powerful than it when you're trying to release a system that's supposed to show off how much more powerful it is than the normal Switch. Obviously, unfair comparisons would be rampant, and with a device that we're hoping reaches base Xbox One and PS4 levels of power, more, comparing that to next generation systems would be a bad idea. Especially since we're also thinking it's going to be $400, and these next gen systems will likely only be $100 to $200 more. In my opinion, you're going to get more sales if you launch it in March, away from the competition and away from those unfair advantages. So I'm going to say March 3rd, 2020 is likely the date, with an Animal Crossing release of March 2020 with a special version of the system for that date. But enough about the reveal and release dates, let's get into my updated predictions on the features for the system. I actually have 3 different possibilities that I want to talk about in order of which one I think is the most likely. And let's start off with my most likely one. Well, the most likely one is generally just predictions I've already been making. It's not too different than what I've already been saying, so if you've seen my other predictions videos, you kind of know, but I'll go over the basics here. I think we're going to get a 12 nanometer chip, and if you don't know what that means, it's just something that's even more efficient than what we have in the Switch Lite, which is already more efficient than what we have in the normal Nintendo Switch. So I think we're going to get better graphics power with the same power usage. That's why I think they're going to go with 12 nanometers. I think the graphical power of the system will be close to the ballpark of PS4 and base Xbox One, but not quite. It'll be a touch under, but it will be in competitive range of those systems. I think we'll get a 1080p screen on the system. I think fairly better battery life than the normal Switch is possible, with 5 to 10 hours being my hopes, but it could be a little bit under that as well. A Bluetooth headphone support is possible as well, and a new special dock that has a built-in Ethernet port, 3 USB 3.0s, and can upscale games to 4K for those that are maxing out or near maxing out the 1080p capabilities of the original system. For example, games like Mario Kart 8 and Smash that already run at a native 1080p on Switch could get a boost to a upscaled 4K. All of this available in a $400 package. This is what I'm thinking is the most likely scenario, but again, I have those 2 other scenarios, and this next one is actually kind of, in my opinion, equally likely, and that is not a Switch Pro, but a replacement for the current Switch. I think it is completely plausible that we could get a $300 Switch replacement. Nintendo most likely wants to stop manufacturing the normal Switch. In fact, it costs them more money to produce the Switch with the Tegra X1 than it does to produce a Switch with the Tegra X2. In fact, you can see this reflected in the prices for the dev kits on both chips. If you go to NVIDIA's website, the chip for the X1 is actually $330, while the Tegra X2, the 4GB version, which is actually more capable than the X1, is only $250. Obviously, these aren't the prices that Nintendo's getting, but it does show that it takes more money to manufacture the old X1 than it does the Tegra X2, which makes sense because the Tegra X1 is actually a very old architecture that not many people are even making anymore, so that makes it harder to acquire the chip because you have to open new factories to make that chip specifically for the Nintendo Switch. In fact, Nintendo's already moved on from the Tegra X1 using a custom 16nm chip that is most likely based off of the Tegra X2 since it uses that same architecture and would be much cheaper to produce. With this system, I'm thinking we're going to get somewhere in between the previous Switch Pro and the current normal Switch. I think we'll get a nice boost, but nothing huge here. I think games like Doom and Wolfenstein that have variable 720p that can go down to, say, 480p or 360p will get a boost to a pretty much native 720p at a smooth 30 frames per second, and then games like Breath of the Wild that run at a dynamic 900p will get a full 1080p with a smooth 30 frames per second. It wouldn't be a huge improvement, but it would be a nice, welcome improvement. It could also take the time to fix things like fan and heat requirements, fixing those bending issues in the dock, as well as doing things like stopping all the jailbreaking issues and many other small issues that they have with the Switch. Also, if they want in the future, they can release a 4K upscaling dock to give the fans the 4K upscaling that they are wanting in the future, while also replacing the current Switch. But there's one more possibility that I think is a potential contender, and this one is definitely a lot less likely than the other two, but it is a possibility, and that is that Nintendo will release a dedicated home console version of the Nintendo Switch. As I said, this one is a bit more out there, but it is a possibility. Nintendo did just announce a completely portable only Switch in the Switch Lite, which did baffle me and many others, and it's not something that a lot of people thought would be the case. So why not have the possibility of them releasing a dedicated home console version? And there are benefits to this. Home console setups are much cheaper than portable setups. The prices on the chips are just completely different. You can get a much more powerful Nintendo Switch home console than you can a portable hybrid version. So maybe that's what they want to do for the pro users who really want to get the most graphics for their money. Now, I'm not saying this would be a PS4 Pro or Xbox One X, but I am saying it would at least get to the levels of the PS4 and Xbox One at a decent price range. Then in 2 or 3 years, Nintendo can release the Switch 2, a new hybrid console that is powerful, maybe as powerful or more powerful than their home console version, but is also a hybrid system that completely replaces the normal Switch. Personally, I don't really like this theory, and I don't think it's what's going to happen, but there is a distinct possibility of this. Nintendo did just release a version of the Switch completely dedicated to handheld play, so there is the possibility that they would want to do the same for home console. However, I just really hope this isn't the case. I want a more powerful hybrid system now rather than later, and I'd be willing to sacrifice graphics if we keep the hybrid nature of the console. So to wrap things up, I think we will get a reveal in a January Nintendo Direct in 2020 and a release on March 3rd, 2020 for the Nintendo Switch Pro with a Animal Crossing bundle version coming on the 20th. I also think that this will be a Pro hybrid model that will be significantly more powerful in the range of the PS4 and Xbox One at $400. But that's just what I'm thinking is going to happen. I want to hear what all you guys think is going to happen down in the comments below. Do you think the Switch Pro is even real? That's something I didn't even discuss. There is the possibility that this could be fake. We did hear that it was supposed to come out this year and it's not. So maybe you think it's not real. But if you do think it is real, let me know what you think is going to happen to it down in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell icon for notifications of all my videos so you don't miss out on tons more videos on the Switch Lite and the Switch Pro in the future, and of course other Nintendo themed content as well. And I'll see all you awesome people later on What About Nintendo. Bye!